All right, thank you so much, Aishura. It's really great to be here. Aishura, just before we start, I was just wondering whether you're able to, yeah, full screen. Okay, awesome. That's great. Right, so I'm so glad to be here to be able to talk about child exploitation and trafficking. Well, not to say I'm glad to talk about it, but in a sense, I'm glad I'm able to create awareness and also share with you what is happening, what's the definitions of it, and also who we are as Be My Protector, and also how we can make a difference together as Malaysians. Yeah. So without further ado, I'm just going to go through the slides and then we will feel free to ask questions in between. I believe Ashura and team will just intercept me and just ask me the questions. And I would love for it to be an interactive session. Just any concerns, any questions, just feel free to type it in, or you want to ask as the house rules have been stated just now. So let's begin. So child exploitation and trafficking. So what we're going to learn today. Next slide. Yeah. So we're going to learn about all these different things about what is child exploitation, trafficking, what is it together, what's a pedophile, why does this happen, why does it happen to children, and who are the traffickers, what is happening, what are the stats, what are in the papers, what are the challenges that we're facing. Of course, we're going to end with who is Be My Protector, short form we call it just BMP. What is our mission, what we do, how, or what you can do, and also what are our needs. All right, so let's get it started. So to start things off, the question is, what is a child? All right, so the United Nations Convention of Rights of Children, UNCRC, defines as child as anyone under 18. All right, so it's very simple. We go by the international standard by UN. Anyone that is below 18 years old is considered a child. Of course, people will then say, like, oh, what about people who are special, although they are above 18, their mental capacity and all that might be below. So again, that we can also look at that from a case-to-case basis, but the general blanket is anyone that is below 18 is considered a child, which again, even by this definition, some of you already have questions about certain practices and certain laws, but let's go along first. All right, so let's move to the next slide. So the next slide is we're going to talk about is yeah, what is exploitation? All right, so exploitation, when you look at the dictionary, it's defined as, the first one is defined as the action or fact of treating someone unfairly in order to benefit from their work. Right. The second definition is the action of making use of and benefiting from resources, and in this case, the resources is human beings. Okay, let's move on to the next one. All right, what is trafficking? Right, trafficking is dealing or trading in something that is illegal. That means it is not by law. It is against the law. So just a very simple definition. So what is child exploitation and trafficking? So let's answer that. All right. So child exploitation and trafficking involves the trafficking of children for the purpose of forcing a child into prostitution, forced labor, removal of organs, illicit adoption, and for use in begging. So now when you understand the definitions of this, when you put it together, it paints you a bigger picture of what child exploitation and trafficking is, right? So as we go on, I'm going to just share some of the experience and stories I have so that you have a better picture of what's happening in our country as well. Right. So this is out of nowhere, I know, but is this there because it will help me to explain some of the next few slides. So it's very surprising that actually in our country, a lot of people don't know what a pedophile is, or you might hear pedophilia or pedophile. And basically it's a person who is sexually attracted to children. To be honest, in some of my experience, I've actually asked this to random people, and I would believe at least 50% of the random people I meet don't know what it is. In fact, one of them even asked me, "Brother, what is that? New shoe brand?" So it is actually quite alarmingly surprising. I know some people would have laughed at that, but it's actually surprising about the knowledge and awareness that even the word pedophile or pedophilia. Okay, let's go to our next slide. So why does this happen, right? So this happens because it's to meet the sexual demands of pedophiles and people who pay for sex, right? So any person who patronizes the commercial sex market may end up sexually exploiting a child. There is no common profile of perpetrators who sexually exploit children. They may be young, old, married, single. They come from all types of social economic backgrounds and work in all kinds of profession. So, a lot of people might say, oh, they might look like this or they might behave like this. There's actually no black and white to it. It can be anyone, all right? So again, now we go into why do they target children? Because children are especially vulnerable for being trafficked because they are often uneducated, easy to overpower, and easy to convince. So when we say often uneducated, as we go on, I will show you some stats of what age group is being taken advantage of, and you will see why we say it's often uneducated, right? Also, we see that street children, children from refugee camps, children who do not have someone to look out for them are especially vulnerable to be exploited and trafficked. This doesn't mean that children from um, homes or a safe environment doesn't be exploited, but we're just saying that children that don't have someone to look out for them are even more susceptible to being victims. So who are these traffickers? Okay, these traffickers, surprisingly for some of you, you might find out that we always say, oh, it's a stranger. We see movies, we see movies like Taken and things like that, things happen in Europe and all that. But even in our own backyard, it could be a stranger, or most of the time it's someone that the child knows, such as a relative or a friend. They may even pose as boyfriends or girlfriends in order to convince children to live for a new or better life. And even some of the girls that are being trafficked is because they wanted a new toy or they wanted makeup or they wanted handbag, and it doesn't just stop at girls, it's also boys as well. So what is happening? So over 400 Malaysian websites hosting child sexual abuse materials were blocked between 2015 to 2018 following public complaint. Now, this is very important. I put it there because there has been no prosecutions or convictions. So the crazy thing is, can you imagine between these years, and we haven't even got the stats for 2019 and last year, but can you imagine over 400 sites in Malaysia itself? So you can imagine that this is actually a very, very big problem and a very, very big issue that is actually happening under our noses and during our watch. Next slide, please. So here's a stat that was actually very surprising. And in fact, when I was doing the research, this stat actually brought me to tears because we can see out of 100%, this is taken in 2019 and released last year in May, and by this website. Basically, out of their parameters of gathering information, 78% of the children they were depicted in child pornography were 3 to 13 years old. It is a very, very alarming and very, very disturbing statistic. I know a lot of people will go like 16, 18, 16, 17, 18, but the stat shows that 78% is 3 to 13 years old. In fact, if you look at the stat, there's also 0 to 2 years old, which is also very, very disturbing. Of course, out of the whole statistics, 4% they're not able to determine the age, but even by these statistics, it is actually very sad and very alarming that this is happening. Okay, next slide, please. So in the papers, these are our local papers, and this has been past couple of years, right? So in the papers, in the Star, it is actually reported that Malaysia has the highest numbers of IP addresses uploading and downloading photographs of visuals of child pornography in Southeast Asia. This is what authorities have said. Right? As it continues, the data shows to 20,000 IP addresses in Malaysia, uploading and downloading photographs and visuals of child pornography, and that the country has ranked top in Southeast Asia in this regard. And again, I know when we share some of these statistics, you'll go like, Malaysia is number one again, but in an unfortunate, in a very negative way. Yeah. Right. So this is from last year, also from the Star. So this is saying that if you have produced, save, distribute, search, and access child sexual abuse content, also known as child pornography, the police will chase you and hunt you down. So a lot of people will just say, "Oh, I only watch what? What's the problem? I didn't do anything." So in Malaysia, since last year, this was already announced in the papers that if you produce, save, distribute, search, or even access this type of material, the police can trace you and will hunt you down. Next. Right. So again, the paper continues in Malaysia. Again, the definition again is same as what the UN has suggested, 18 and below, right? And it's under the Child Act of 2001. So this is giving you a bit more background to not just what it is, but also which act that it falls under, right? And also under the Sexual Offence Act Against Children of 2017, right? So basically, under this act, it explains very detailed that refers to any visual, audio, or written representation of a child engaged in sexually explicit content. So this is very important so that you are aware what is the definition of it. Right. Next. Right. So in Section 4 of the Sexual Offences Against Children Act of 2017 states that the law also includes person portraying to be a child engaged in sexual explicit conduct. All right. That means if they're above the age but they are portraying, all right, it is still wrong, right? And realistic images of the act. Sexual grooming or communication with a child in a sexual way, right, is also an offense that carries a punishment of 5 years and whipping. Some people will say like, oh, there's a punishment there, but I'm going like 5 years. That's, I think we need to relook at that. Right? But anyway, this again is for your information of what are some of the laws in Malaysia that has against sexual conduct against children. Next slide, please. So what are the challenges? And this is where, you guys have questions, feel free to start asking. One of the biggest challenges in our country is we have a tradition of shame and silence around, the sexual exhibits of children's vulnerability to sexual exploitation. What does this mean? Even in the recent events of when people were joking about rape in school, the teacher joking about rape in school, we can see that the girl that was voicing out, we can see that she also had backlash, right? Of asking her that, oh, it was just a joke, just be quiet. Why you're so uptight and things like that, right? So because even sexual harassment is defined about how the person is receiving it feels. It is not about how the person that is giving it, right? So again, in that, in our country, there's a lot of stigma around this, where people like to just say that let's just save face. And in some of the experts that I've spoken to, it is revealed that one out of five children in Malaysia currently are being sexually abused at home. So it actually is very, very alarming and disturbing again, because when these things happen, people don't want to voice out in fear of their family name or their status, or or losing credibility or reputation. But the question is, what is the right thing to do when it comes to a child that is being sexually exploited or sexually abused? Right? Uh, let's share the next challenge. Right? Of course, this is also something that everyone is aware of, right? There's a conservative attitudes around social norms and values hamper sexual reproductive health education and gender-based attitudes towards sexual abuse and exploitation. A lot of people think that sexual abuse only happens to girls, right? But it's not true. There's statistics that show that it also happens to boys as well. That's why boys also are being kidnapped for being trafficked for sex labor and things like that, right? And the thing is also because there's a lot of things that we hide behind culture, or even sometimes I would dare say behind religion, to be able to have open talks, healthy open talks about sexual health, right? It's actually very important, because the more we sort of try to avoid it, we realize that a lot of people might seek the wrong sort of education or exposure. In fact, one of the stats of Pornhub, and this is not in my slides, but in the top of my head, they did a statistic on, even in the States and Malaysia, who accesses Pornhub the most. You'll be surprised that actually Kelantan is a state that actually subscribes to Pornhub the most. And in a sense, again, we're not here to put down any religion, but I'm just saying that when there's a lot of religious constraints when it's put upon society, sometimes the people will look for different areas to get the information from. Yeah. Next slide. All right. Also in our country, we also have a dual legal system which allows special law to grant permission for children to marry. Right. Of course, like I said in the beginning, you may have questions that you're 18 and below. Of course, some of the laws is not just in Malaysia, but also in other countries, can allow the marriage of children as young as 12 years old. Right. Of course, I would say that maybe in the past, maybe uh, hundreds of years ago, they had different practices and traditions, and I completely understand that and I appreciate that, right? However, as times progress, when people progress with technology, when education, when science, when health, when all these things progress, there must also be a progression with our traditions, right? So, I mean, I will always jokingly say that who would buy a typewriter today? No one, right? Most of us would buy a laptop, would buy a desktop computer, right? In fact, some of our phones are even able to be a mobile computer in that sense. So in that way, we understand that even with technology, we progress, we move along with technology. We understand that technology of the past may not be able to fit in our current and modern day world. So why are we not doing that with traditions? We hold on to traditions, and some of these traditions is fitted for that particular time. But we fail to understand that some of these traditions, when we bring forward, it actually doesn't help the society, or it doesn't help the people. Yeah, next one. And this is another interesting fact. I found out that one of our other challenges is, of course, you read just now that 400 sites were taken down between 2015 to 2018, but that was because it was due to public complaint. That's why I said I left it there. The reason is the internet providers in Malaysia are not required to block, delete, or report offensive content involving child sexual abuse and exploitation. They only move to block, delete, or and whatever else only when there's a report made by the public. So again, having a system or having policies that doesn't help or doesn't promote the activeness in wanting to block or wanting to delete and sort of zoom in on this sort of challenges makes it difficult and makes it more lucrative for the syndicates, for the people who are trafficking the children to continue to do more. All right. So I'm actually going to go into who are we as Beyond Protected, but I'm just going to take a pause here to see, Aishwarya, is there any questions from the floor, or any questions that you guys have for me before I move forward?
Hold on, let me just check the chat
Sure.
box. All right. So far we don't have any questions. As for me, I do have a lot of things to mention.
Sure.
Usually I would use this as a wrap up in the
No
wrap up session.
question.
Usually I would just use the things that I want to say as a wrap in the wrap up session. But up to
Sure.
you. Which one do you prefer?
No problem. Then I will let you use it in your wrap up. I will just share with them who is Be My Protector and how they can
Yeah, true.
what they can do. Yeah. All right. Okay. So
So
we'll
let's just
move
proceed
on.
first
Yeah, sure.
with your
So
slides.
who are we? We are Be My Protector. So I've been with Be My Protector for the past 1.5 years, give or take. Yeah, and we're an NGO in Malaysia that offers every Malaysian the opportunity to report human trafficking and child exploitation. That's right. We are in partnership with Tenaga Nita, and they've been around for a very long time, and they're an extremely great partner. I will always jokingly say that they are our mother. All right, and so we are the first NGO in Southeast Asia to develop an app allowing anyone and everyone to be able to submit reports of abuses safely. Any suspicious activity, any places, any person, right? And the best part is you can do it anonymously and quickly to reliable and experienced caseworkers. So yeah, so as we go on, I'm going to share with you our app. So we believe in the 3 R's, which is reach, rescue, and restore. We believe the reach is actually really the bulk of it is actually in a lot of reach because, like I mentioned, there's a lot of awareness that needs to be created in our culture. There's a lot of people that don't talk about it. In fact, even the topic for today, some of the things I shared, some people can't take it, can't stomach it, and I completely understand because we don't usually talk about these things openly and honestly. And I think there needs to be a change because the more we're able to talk about it, the more we're able to identify, the more we're able to help children that are being abused and exploited, right? So a lot of them grow up and, some of them will say that they wish someone would have done or said something, see something, say something. And we believe that would be my protector. So a lot of work has to be done in this area because, we want to raise awareness to educate, equip, and also empower people as well. In fact, we're going to come up with a new campaign soon. We want to empower the abused to be able to speak out. So, stay tuned to our Facebook and to our Instagram for more information soon. Besides that, we want to rescue. So we want to be able to save the victims or survivors, and in the sense we have partners and they're able to help them with different steps of the way, all right, which goes into restore. So we want to be able to help them to be able to have a new meaningful life from their traumatic experience. And unfortunately for some of them, because the trauma is so great, they are not able to have a normal life. But of course we have different partners that provide things from counseling services to shelters to food to able to actually help them to make new meaning in their life. All right, next. All right, so what do we do? So like I said, we have this app, and this app is on Google Google Play Store and the Apple Store. So sorry, Google Play and Apple Store, and you can just scan the QR code, and again the QR code will be available at the end as well. And basically, this QR code also gives you more information on us and what we do, and also that if you want to volunteer with us or if you want to donate some funds to us, it'd be highly appreciated as well. So just having an app on your phone, a small little app, could potentially save a life. So why not? Let's do that. So I think the question that I normally ask people is, you love your loved ones, of course, because they're your loved ones, right? But you can't be with them 24/7, right? You can't watch over them all the time. Would it be nice if someone would step in to help them when they're in trouble? I think everyone would agree, yes. So if you agree to that, why don't you be that person to help someone else, somebody else's loved one? Yeah. Next slide. All right. So Yeah, the basically our app is actually you can report it a case or a situation in five simple steps, right? Of course, you see six there, you go like, wait a minute, Roland, how come there's six? Because our fourth option is actually optional. Like I said, you can do it anonymously. Of course, if you put in your details, like I've got a new case that I'm working on because the reporter put in his details, we were able to call and get more information to be able to work with local law enforcement. Of course, if you're not comfortable, it's okay. But again, five simple steps: just upload a photo, indicate where's the situation at, um, what do you call this, for who it's for, right? Your details, what type of incident and the severity of it, and then just hit submit report. And most of the time, we are able to, work on it within an hour. We try to work within 24 hours of receiving the report straight away. So yeah, again, very very simple. Five simple steps to help someone. Next slide, please. So we're coming to a close very soon. So what are our needs? Of course, and very simplistically, I would just say the first one is we want to spread awareness on the app to create a society that cares for each other. It is not just for the sake of downloading the app, but the app is actually a symbol or it's a meaning that you want to be part of a society that cares. And I believe that even in our country now, we can see, for example, the white flags being raised and people, kita jaga kita and things like that. And it really moves me because I see Malaysians actually really caring for each other. I can see people caring for their, elderly neighbors and things like that. So I believe that downloading this app actually helps us to be able to become more united as a community in wanting to do good, in wanting to save and help people that are vulnerable, right? So yeah, so the first need is download our app. After you download our app, tell someone about it. It's so so important, right? It's just like when you eat a great packet of nasi lemak, right? What are you gonna do? You're gonna tell your friends, hey, sedap lah, jom kita makan sama-sama kan? So do the same, right? Of course, secondly, we're an NGO. We work with donations and sponsorship, right? Where if there's people that wants to donate or sponsor us for our projects as well as our app, because the app also needs to be developed. We want to be able to develop the app to make it more seamless and make it more functional in different ways. So again, feel free to reach out to us to find out more. Or let's say if you are an app developer and you want to contribute to it, let us know as well. Right. Of course, we need volunteers, all right, to join us in different areas that we're in to make our country better. And we've got different areas of volunteering. You can follow us on the ground to do some investigative work. You can even help us in some of our social media or even in our office. So there's actually a lot of things that can be done, and all these little things, it actually means a lot to us because it means that people care about our country enough to want to step up and to want to do something about it. Slide, please. All right. So actually, I'm at the end of our presentation, and thank you so much for your time. So that's my details. And again, here's the QR code where you can download the app, you can donate, or you can find out more information about us. And again, I'm very happy to engage if you have any questions. Besides that, I think something I didn't mention, we also provide people with what we call self-protection or self-awareness training. Is how to use the app discreetly and how to be able to protect yourself if you go to the bank, or if you're walking on the street, what are the do's and don'ts, or just things to just help you to be more aware of your surroundings so that you don't become a victim, right? So yeah, so I think that's my presentation, and happy to answer questions or if there's anything else that you guys want to ask me.
All right. Thank you so much, Roland, for the very detailed explanation on child exploitation and abuse, and also, everything that you've stated in the slides just now. I think because since it's like it's complete, you told us, you provided us with the why, where, who, and how. So I don't think there's any holes for us to question, uh, question stuff. So maybe that's why the participants couldn't think of any questions. But the first thing I would love to say, okay, sorry, about the slide. I just let the slide be here first on the screen, so that
Sure.
if they wanted to scan, or they want to take your information there, they still have time. So okay, all right. So back to the slide just now. Back to the discussion. The first thought I had when you showed the statistic, no lah, before, even before the statistics, right? You know how you explain usually children that were abused and sexually abused and stuff like that. I really got like teared up, but in a way that is mad. Like like, how we feel angry to a point
Yep.
that we just want to cry, because
Yes.
we can't do anything about it, because it's
Yep.
it's happening out there, and like you said, people don't talk about it. It's things about this, it's still a taboo subject in Malaysia, even in Malaysia,
Mm.
because they will assume, oh, itu mak ayah je pukul anak-anak sebab nak mengajar, when it's
Yep.
actually abuse. It's like
Yep.
straight up abuse. They are dying. The child, the child is dying there. But like, other people will be like, tak payahlah jaga tepi kain orang, tu family dia orang. Which is very sad and heartbreaking.
Yep.
That only happens when we see in public, what we see in public. What the things that we don't see, at their houses. Speaking of that, I think I saw a video, right, on Twitter. I think last week, there's
Mhm.
this one, like a neighbor. She or he lah, they called the police because they heard the neighbor, the house in front of them, were screaming and crying. And then when the police came, the I think the wife was holding the baby, and she was screaming while crying. She said, dia nak pukul saya, encik, dia nak pukul saya. Things like that. We can report that because we heard it, because
Yep.
their houses are very pretty close to each other, and then kebetulan, the windows and the doors were open that time, so they can hear it.
Mm.
What about those cases when they can't hear anything? It's very heartbreaking. Itu baru abuse. It's not the sexual abuse one yet.
Yep.
We haven't touched about the sexual abuse one yet. it, and then like the pedophile subject and stuff. That's a very sickening topic to even think about it. I think, hold on, I think we have a question here from Kai Sarah. All right,
Yep.
we can proceed with the question first, right? Okay. So when we see in public children beggars yang we suspect they're victims of trafficking or syndicate, what can we do?
Yep. So what you can do is basically we actually have a few cases of child begging that has actually come through our app. And what we do is we actually work with local law enforcement, and there will be a task force or a team that will investigate and to see whether they are syndicate or not. Okay, of course, in this investigative work, there are two types of child begging. There are ones that are really from poor families, like the B40 families. Now parents have no jobs, or parents are sick, or parents have even died from COVID, right? And maybe they are left to fend for their siblings, right? Unfortunately, that is the reality that we live in. Some children have to take care of each other. Yeah, they don't have parents, or parents abandoned, or parents are drug abusers or alcoholics. There's again uh, a million reasons and ocean of excuses and all that. So we kind of determine whether it is a genuine case of being in poverty, or it is a syndicate. So of course, a syndicate, then there will be someone that pick them up and might drop them at different locations. So once you see a child begging on the street, what you can do is maybe I won't say engage, but if you engage, maybe is to find out information. You can just be friendly. You can buy them food. I think buying food is the easiest thing, because when you give them money, the money is then taken by a syndicate or someone else, right? But if you buy them food, it's something that is consumable in that sense. And then when you give it to them, just ask, oh, are you okay? Where do you stay? Just find out a bit of information if it's possible. If it's not, just take the photographs, put it in our app, send us the information, and we'll take it from there. Of course, like I said, if you put in your details, then we're able to, find out more information from you, because sometimes you might miss information. So yeah, that's the easiest and best thing that you can do.
So basically, I think the app would help a lot, right?
Yep. Yep.
Okay, so I think I would, of course, we would recommend our participants to just install the app, and then if it happens to, you see or heard something like abusive, children got abused, you can just you have a platform to report right away. All right, so another one from Din Min Long. Thank you for the insightful presentation. I do have a question. I read a research by two psychologists in which the findings show that CSA committed by sexual offenders are not acting out of sexual desires, like what you mentioned, but instead out of the need to feel in control. Okay, the desire to be in power, a vulnerable child. May I know what are your thoughts on this and whether you think this finding is valid?
I believe that the reasons behind why a person would want to commit a sexual act against a child can vary. They might not be pedophiles. Like I do agree. There are some people that are not doing it out of a sexual desire, but they want to do it out of power. Like for example, I think in Malaysia, like when certain people get angry with certain people, and in their anger they said, "I would want to rape you."
Yeah, yeah.
And right. You see, the rape is not about a sexual behavior. The rape is about showing dominance over you. So, in that sense, I do agree and understand that not all the sexual acts are because it is a sexual act in nature, but it is then some will be sort of um, what's that word? A result of being angry. So sometimes in anger they would want to do that to you because they want to feel they are dominant over you. Yeah. So that's my answer to that.
True. I also agree, and also about the need to feel, that they're dominating the child or the situation, because when they got when the child got into that situation, they're weak. No matter how they tried to fight, the perpetrator would still be more stronger than them. So that way, they can feel even more powerful. And
Yeah.
also, of course, when they got hurt, they just can't do anything else. So of
Yeah.
course, it's not just out of sexual um, desire, but also because of anger, like you said, when they're mad, that's the only thing that they could think of. It's either
Yeah.
sexual abuse, or like literally just abuse. It's
Yeah.
either way, you know but still,
So.
both are
mm,
very bad. Sorry.
Yeah, I wanted to jump on the earlier point before the question you were mentioning about people reporting your neighbors and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
I did a talk recently, and out of the 100 youths or 100 people that was there, 20 of them actually came forward to say that they were sexually abused at home, right? And I think that made me think, and that brought me to a question. I know we're going to wrap up soon, and I just wanted to ask this question
Yeah, it's
to
fine.
everyone for some for us to think about it, right? So if I were to say, now that you know the information I've given to you, would you? So I'll ask you first. Yeah, would you would you report someone if you saw someone watching child pornography?
Child pornography.
Yeah, if you
Yes,
caught
I would
someone
report
watching,
right away.
you report it. Okay. Now let me change that. It's the same question, but let me change it a bit now. Now, this is going to be very difficult, and just bear with me, I sure. But there's a reason why I'm doing this. It's just to help people to think as and benefit for everyone on this call
True,
and
true.
watching this video. Yeah. Now you said yes to the first question. Now let me change the question. Would you report your loved one, your father, your mother, your brother, your sister, your boyfriend, your girlfriend, your partner, if you caught them watching child pornography?
Yeah, that would be a little difficult and complicated
It's
situation.
okay. It's fine. I'm sorry to put you on the spot,
No, no,
but
it's fine.
there's a reason. There's a reason why I did it. The
Mm-mm.
reason is, as I thought about it more deeply, my simple conclusion is this: that is the simplest form of corruption I can think of.
Mm. True.
If we talk about we want our country to be corruption free, that is the simplest form of corruption, because since we know the right thing, and when we say a blanket statement, we all agree what the right thing is, but when we bring it to our home, suddenly we can't do the right thing because of emotional or obligation to our family or our culture or religion or whatever it is. It doesn't really matter. But the fact that you said yes in the beginning, but then suddenly now it becomes complicated, that is already showing all of us. And again, when I asked you this, it also asked I asked this to myself, right? So I had to take some time to come to that point to say that if I find anyone watching child pornography, will I report it? I will have to say yes, regardless
True.
of their relationship with me.
Mm.
Because if we don't do it, the demand will keep happening and Malaysia will keep producing, which means that the children between 3 to 13 are being victimized and exploited just because we don't have the guts to do the right thing. And the question is, if you were the victim or you know the victim, that might help you to give you a bit more perspective. But most of the time, we don't think about our loved ones doing it. But that is the point of people who are the perpetrators. It is the people that we don't think are the perpetrators to begin with.
Speaking of that, when you said, oh yes, okay, hold on, let me just clear my mind one by one. Okay.
Sure,
uh,
sure.
the earlier one, which is the we have to report because that's the right thing to do, even though that the perpetrator is our loved ones. You're right. That's why I said the first question I said yes, and then the second one I said complicated because I know that I have to report. But I said complicated because it will take sometimes for me to just gather the guts, the courage to mention about it to someone else, because
Yeah.
then of course I haven't true, it's easy to call out a stranger than your own family. True. I haven't go through and check out your apps yet, but I'm pretty sure usually most of these reporting apps or website would ask the relationship we have with the person that we want to report, either the perpetrator or the victim, right? They would
Uh,
ask like whether we
so
know.
our app is just, are you reporting for yourself or someone else actually? So
Okay.
it doesn't call for the relationship, but it does get complicated, and I understand. I'm not saying it's an easy question to answer, but
True.
it's just to help people to think about it now
True.
already in that sense. Yeah,
That's actually a good start, when we start to think about it, because we know that that's the right thing. Somehow it will prepare us in the future, just in case. Okay, we don't want it to happen, but just in case it happens, we were already prepared with it, because
yeah,
we have been training ourselves to think about it, to put our situation in that position. Suddenly we are really into that position. We at that time we're already prepared, we're already ready to,
yes.
that this is it, I have to put it to stop, report right away. So I really think
Because
so.
the perpetrators, are just to interject, the perpetrators start at home, and
Yeah,
then
true.
when they're done with the victim, then they move outside the home.
Mm,
That is another way that it happens in that sense. So by one of the people that approached me said that he and his sister was abused by their uncle sexually. So every time his sister showers now they're in their 20s, he stands by the bathroom door to guard the bathroom door against the uncle. So I said, why don't you tell your family? He said, oh no, I don't want to tell my family because it will be complicated. They might
true.
not believe me. We will fight. So I said, okay, I respect your decision. But let's say if you have a younger cousin sister who doesn't have a brother like you to protect her, what then? So sometimes by not voicing it out, by not helping the victim or yourself to speak out, when the perpetrators are allowed to happen, we then the people or the victims accept it as a norm, and that's why you see some of the mothers, because they were sexually exploited as children, they allow their children to be sexually taken advantage of when they are mothers.
True. Also, you also mentioned usually these preparators are the people that we don't expect. We
Yep.
didn't expect. Um, I do not have personal experience with like child sexual abuses, but I do have experience meeting people that is like luar lain dalam lain, luar lain
Ah.
public lain, and then privately lain,
Yep.
lain as in bad in a bad way lah. So, and
Yep.
then you also mentioned the statistic on the Kelantan, right? They
Yep.
most of them open apa
You Pornhub.
yeah, the subscribe or watch Pornhub. That that brings us to that point again. It's always the people that we didn't expect. I'm not saying anything about Kelantan in general, but
Yep.
we didn't expect because we know Kelantan is a very Islamic district and stuff. See,
Yep.
still it goes back to the person lah, so not the general idea of the religion, but they use religion to like protect them and stuff like that, which is somehow sucks because that's not how religion works, and then they will blame the religion instead.
I don't care which religion anyone is from, but for me, it's when you touch or deal with a child inappropriately, that needs to be dealt with.
True.
Like, I mean, I'm a Christian, so it doesn't like I'm even if let's say it's a religious person, I know that there's it. I'm against it. I will not say that, oh, because we are in the same faith, therefore I will protect you. It doesn't work that way. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because we're not looking at that. We're looking at what happens to the child. And as young as the child is, sexual exploitation, they carry it with them. You see, sexual things, it's very intimate on an emotional level, on a physical level, in fact, even on a spiritual level, right? So, like, if you get cut and all, I mean, you might have bruises or scars, you can heal, but when it comes to sexual things, they actually carry it with them almost all their life.
Yeah. Yeah, that's very right. They carried that their whole life, which of that makes them traumatized. um okay, my last point, because we're already at 10 p.m. From the traumatized, back to the 5 years jail for
Mhm.
the perpetrator. I'm
Yep.
so mad about that one because like they abuse the child, and the child will carry that trauma their whole life, and then the perpetrator would only get like 5 years in jail, and then after that they got out. If they change, that's good, but if they don't.
You percaya tak? We have a case where the father was caught for sexually abusing the kid, and then the local authorities let him go. And then when the NGO asked why, the response was, "Oh, dia janji takkan melakukan lagi." Itu problem keluarga.
Ugh, I hate when they bring that up. Like, oh, keluarga. Well, he's wrong. He's still wrong. Not
Yep.
he lah, not he entirely, right? Could be she as well. They are
Yep.
wrong. Yeah. Okay, so that is this is a very hard topic to talk about. It's very, it brings
I'm
anger.
I'm happy to come back again on another day and we can
Yeah,
continue. You know. Yeah.
we would love to talk about it again. Maybe after we can discuss about this again after we, like with the lapo predator, we can. You mentioned in our call just now that we want to collab and everything. I will mention that.
Sure.
So maybe after that we can uh try and have this session again. So I will
Yep.
contact you for that. Anyway, so anything else you want to add?
Oh, like I said, thanks for letting me share. And I just really, my dream, my personal dream is I want to see Malaysia change in a way that we all really, hand in hand, berganding tangan, as they say, to love, to take care of each other in a way that we are helping each other to make society safe, to make society a place that we can be proud of. And I think we have so many good things and we have so many qualities that we have as Malaysians to be proud of. I really want our country to be the pinnacle of what living in, not just in harmoniously is, but living in a harmonious place that is a safe place for everyone to be in. That's my dream, and I hope that we can do that together with Be My Protector and Monsters Among Us.
Yeah, I really hope that will come the dream, your personal dream would come to reality as well. So thank you so much for joining us. Thank you so much for being our guest speaker and sharing all this insightful topic. So we really hope to see you again. Thank you so much for joining our session tonight. So just remember, our reading club is every Friday 9 to 10 p.m. I think that's all. So have a good weekend and have a nice day. Thank you so much, everyone. You guys may leave the meeting now.